I'm fine. Okay, chapter 35, Mutual Love of God. Srila Rupa Goswami offers his respectful prayers to the eternal Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always so beautiful, and for whom the pure devotees are always engaged in loving transcendental service. This third Sindhu describes the 5 primary kinds of devotional service, namely neutrality, servitude, fraternity, parenthood, and conjugal love. These 5 items will be very elaborately explained here, and thus they have been figuratively described as the 5 waves on the western side of this ocean of the nectar of devotion. When one is actually able to maintain the transcendental position, his stage is called, neutrality in devotional service. Some greats have attained this neutral position by practicing austerity, penance, and meditation to control the senses. Such stages are generally called mystic yogis, and in most cases they are inclined to appreciate the spiritual pleasure of the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. They are practically unaware of the transcendental pleasure derived from personal contact with the Supreme Godhead. Derived in association with the Supreme Person is far greater derived from an impersonal Brahman realization because of the direct meeting with the eternal form of the Lord. Impersonalists do not directly derive the transcendental pleasure of association with the Lord by hearing of his pastimes. As such, the impersonalists cannot derive any relishable transcendental pleasure from the topics of Bhagavad Gita, in which the Lord is personally talking with Arjuna. The basic principle of their impersonal attitude does not allow transcendental pleasure that is relished by a devotee, whose basic principle of understanding is the Supreme Person. The impersonalistic commentary on Bhagavad Gita, because without understanding the pleasure of the Gita, the impersonalist wants to interpret it in his own way. If an impersonalist can, however, come in contact with a pure devotee, his transcendental position can be changed for greater elevation. Great sages are therefore recommended to worship the form of the Lord in order to achieve that highest transcendental pleasure. Without worshipping the Archa Vigraha, the form or deity of the Lord, one cannot understand such literature as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. For those great sages situated in the position of transcendental neutrality, the beginning should be to take shelter of Lord Vishnu, the 4-handed eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mystic yogis are therefore advised to meditate on the form of Lord Vishnu, as recommended by Kapila Yoga system. Unfortunately, many mystic yogis try to meditate on something void, and as stated in the Gita, is that they simply undergo trouble and do not achieve any tangible result. When some greats who had undergone penances and austerities saw the 4-handed transcendental form of Vishnu, they remarked, "This 4-handed form of the Lord, manifested in a bluish colour, is the reservoir of all pleasure and the centre of our living force. Actually, when we see this eternal form of Vishnu, we, along with many other Paramahamsas, become immediately captivated by the beauty of the Lord. This appreciating persons is an instance of situation in Shanta Ras, or the neutral stage of devotional service. In the beginning, those who are aspiring for salvation try to get out of the material entanglement by performing painful austerities and penances, and ultimately they come to the personal status of spiritual realization. At this Brahma Bhuta stage of liberation from material entanglement, the symptoms, as explained in Bhagavad Gita, are that one becomes joyous beyond any hankering or lamentation and gains a universal vision. When the devotee is situated in the Shanta Ras, or neutral stage of devotional service, he appreciates the Vishnu form of the Lord." Sukha is going to read now.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, all Vedic culture is aiming at understanding Lord Vishnu
In the Rig Veda, one mantra says that any advanced saintly person is always aspiring to be fixed in meditation upon the lotus feet of
The screen just went a bit straight. Oh, that's better.
In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the foolish do not know that Vishnu is the ultimate goal of life. According to Vedic scriptures, when a person comes to the stage of appreciating Vishnu, he is at the beginning of devotional service. If one cultivates devotional service further and further under proper guidance, other features of devotional service will gradually become manifest. At this stage of Shantaras, one can see Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of God, for even the demons. The Lord is appreciated by such would-be devotees as the eternal transcendental form, the chief of all self-realized souls, the Supreme Brahman. He is also appreciated as being completely peaceful, completely controlled, and pure merciful to the devotees and untouched by any material condition. This appreciation of Lord Vishnu in awe and reverence by the saintly person, by the saintly is to be understood as the sign that they are situated in Shantaras or the neutral stage of devotional service. This stage of Shantaras can be attained by the impersonalists only when they are in association with pure devotees. Otherwise, it is not possible. After Brahman realization, when a liberated soul comes in contact with a pure devotee of Lord Krishna and submissively accepts the teachings of Lord Krishna without misinterpretation because of devotional service. The best example of saintly persons situated in the Shantaras are Shanaka, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar, the Kumar brothers. These four saintly persons, known as Chatursana, are sons of Lord Brahma. After their birth, when they were ordered by their father to become householders and increase human society, they refused the order. They said that they had already decided not to become entangled with family life. They would rather live as saintly brahmacharis for their own perfection. So these great saints have been living for millions of years now, but still they appear to be. Their complexions are very fair. There is no effulgence on their bodies, and they always travel naked. These four saintly persons almost always remain together. Somebody else wants to read?
Yeah. In one of the prayers of Kumara brothers, this declaration is made. O Lord Mukunda, Krishna, the giver of liberation, only so long as one does not happen to see your eternal form of bliss and knowledge, appearing just like a newly grown tamala tree, the bluish hue, only for so long can the impersonal feature of the absolute truth, known as Brahman, be very pleasing to the saintly person. The qualification of a saintly person are described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. A saintly person is one who understands fully that simply by discharging devotional service he can become confident of liberation. He is always situated in the regulative principles of devotion, at the same time aspires to be liberated from the material entanglement. A saintly person thinks like this: when shall I be able to live alone in the caves of a mountain? When shall I be dressed simply with undergarments? When shall I be satisfied by eating simply a little fruit and vegetables? When I will be possible for me to think always the lotus feet of Mukunta, who is the source of Brahman effulgence? When in such a spiritual condition of life shall I fully understand my days and nights to be insignificant moments in eternal time? The devotees and self-realized person who are engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord always maintain an ecstatic love for the Lord within their hearts. Thus, they are benefited by the rays of ecstatic moon, and they call the impulse of a saintly person is to be engaged in the study of Vedas, especially the Upanishadic portions, to live always in a place where there is no disturbance from the common people, to think always of the eternal form of Krishna, to be ready to consider and understand the absolute truth, to be always prominent in exhibiting knowledge, to see the Supreme Lord in his universal form, Vishwarupa, to associate always the learned devotees, and to discuss the conclusion of Vedas with similarly elevated persons. All these qualities serve to raise him to the status of Santarasa. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is stated that all those who attended the pious meeting held by Lord Brahma for the study of Vedic literature, like the Upanishad, became overwhelmed with the ecstatic love for Krishna, the chief of Yadu dynasty. Actually, the result of studying the Upanishads is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Negation of material existence is only one of the subjects of the Upanishad. The next subject concerns becoming situated in the impersonal realization. And then, after penetrating to the impersonal Brahman, when one comes to the platform associating Supreme Personality of Godhead, one reaches the ultimate goal in studying the Upanishad. Those who are situated on the platform of Shantarasa get their impetus for advancement in devotional service by smelling the tulasi offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, by hearing the sound of his conch shell, by seeing a sanctified place in some mountain or hill, by observing a forest like the one in Vrindavan, by going to a place of pilgrimage, by visiting the course of the Ganga, by being victorious over the dictation of bodily demands, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, by understanding the devastation of eternal time, and by constantly associating with devotees engaged in Krishna consciousness. All these different items are favorable in elevating saintly person situated in Santarasa to the advanced stage of devotional service.
In the third canto, 15th chapter, verse 43 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement by the four saintly persons known as Chaturasana, headed by Sanaka Kumara. They went to visit the Lord of Vaikuntha and when they bowed down before the Lord, the aroma of the tulasi mixed with saffron entered their nostrils and immediately attracted their minds. Although these four saintly persons were always absorbed in the thought of impersonal Brahman, from associating Lord and from smelling the tulasi leaves, the hairs on their bodies immediately stood up. This shows that even a person who is situated in Brahman realization, if he is put into association with the devotees in pure devotional service, will immediately become attracted to the personal feature of the Lord. There are certain symptoms of great sages in Shantarasa devotional service, and these symptoms are exhibited as follows. They concentrate their eyesight on the tip of the nose and they behave just like an avaduta. Avaduta means a highly elevated mystic who does not care for any social, religious, or Vedic conventions. Another symptom is that such persons are very careful to step forward when giving speeches. When they speak, they join together the forefinger and the Jnana Mudra position. They are not against the atheists, nor are they particularly inclined to the devotees. Such persons give stress to liberation and detachment from the materialistic way of life. They are always neutral and have no affection for nor misidentification with anything material. They are always grave but fully absorbed in thoughts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These uncommon features develop in devotees who are situated in Shantarasa. Regarding concentration of the eyesight on the tip of there is a statement in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by a devotee who observed this being performed by a yogi. He remarked, "This great stage is concentrating his eyesight on the tip of his nose, and from this it appears that he has already realized the eternal form of the Lord within himself. Sometimes a devotee in Shantarasa yawns, stretches his limbs, instructs on devotional service, offers respectful obeisances unto the form of the Lord, offers nice prayers to the Lord, and has a desire to give direct service with his body. These are some of the common symptoms of the devotee who is situated in neutrality. One devotee, after observing the yarning of another devotee, addressed him thus: "My dear mystic, I think that within your heart there is some ecstatic devotional love which is causing you to yearn. It is sometimes found that a devotee in the Shantarasa falls down on the ground, his hair stands up on his body, and he trembles all over. In this way, different symptoms of ecstatic trance are exhibited automatically by such devotees. Somebody else would like to read?
Can I?
Yes,
Can
please.
I read?
Yes,
Okay.
please, Mataji.
In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that when Lord Krishna was blowing his conch shell, known as Pankajaya, many great sages who were there in the cave of mountain immediately reacted, being awakened from their trance of meditation. They immediately saw that the hair of their bodies was standing. Sometimes devotees in the Santarasa become stern, deliberate, reflective, anxious, dexterous, and argumentative. These symptoms indicate continuous ecstasy or established emotion. Once a great realized sage was lamenting that the Supreme Lord Krishna was living in Dwarka, but that he was unable to take advantage of seeing him. After thinking this, the sage immediately became stern. He was thinking that he was simply wasting his time. In other words, the sage lamented because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was personally present, but he still could not take advantage of this because of his meditation. When a mystic is transcendental to all kinds of mental concoction and is situated in Brahman, his state is called trance, beyond the influence of the material conception of life. In that stage, when one hears about the transcendental, there may be shivering in the body. When a Brahman realized devotee who has come to the stage of steady trance come into contact with the eternal form of Krishna, his transcendental pleasure increases millions of times. One great sage once inquired from another, "My dear friend, do you think that after I perfect the Eightfold Yoga's performance, I shall be able to see the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead?" This inquiry from the sage is an instant of inquisitiveness in a devotee situated in the neutral stage of devotional service. When Lord Krishna, along with his elder brother Balaram and sister Subhadra, came to Kurukshetra in a chariot on the occasion of a solar eclipse, many mystic yogis also came. When these mystic yogis saw Lord Krishna and Balaram, they exclaimed that now that they had seen the excellent bodily effulgence of the Lord, they had almost forgotten the pleasure derived from the impersonal Brahma realization. In this connection, one of the mystic approaches Krishna, "My dear Lord, you are always full with transcendental bliss, excelling all other spiritual position. And so simply by seeing you from a distant place, I have come to the conclusion that there is no mind being situated in the transcendental bliss of impersonal Brahma." When a great mystic was once awakened from his meditative trance by hearing the vibration of Krishna Pankajaya conch shell, the mystic became overpowered, so much so, in fact, that he began to bash his head, eyes full of tears, obviously violated all the rules and regulations of humances. Thus, he at once neglected the process of Brahma realization. Can I just stop here? Somebody else can read? Maybe somebody else can read?
I can.
Thank you.
Mangala Thakura, in his book Krishna Karmantra, says that let's impersonalists be engaged in the process of transcendental realization by worshipping the impersonal Brahman. Although I was also initiated into the path of Brahman realization, I have now become now I have now become misled by naughty boy, one who's very cunning, who is very much attached to the gopis, and who has made his maid servant. So I have now forgotten the process of Brahma realization. Bhagavad Bil Bilva Mangala Thakur was first spiritually initiated for impersonal realization of the absolute truth, but later on, by his association with Krishna in Vrindavana, he became an experienced devotee. The same thing happened to Sukadeva Goswami, who was also reformed himself by the grace of Lord and took the path of the devotional service, giving up the way of impersonal realization. Sukadeva Goswami and Vivamangala Thakur, who gave up the impersonal conception of absolute truth to take the devotional service, are the best example of devotees situated in neutral state. According to some authorities, this condition cannot be accepted as one of the transcendental humors or rasas, but Srila Rupa Goswami says that even if one does not humor, one must still accept it as the beginning position of the devotional service. However, if one is not further raised to the perform of actual service to the Lord, he is not considered to be on the platform of transcendental. In this connection, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna personally instructs Uddhava like this. The state of being established in my personal form is called as a Santarasa, and without being situated in this position, no one can advance in actual pure devotional service. In other words, no one can be situated in the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without being situated at least in Santarasa. Should I continue or
Yes, please, little bit more.
yeah, transcendental affection, servitude, the transition has been accepted by authorities like Sridhara Swami as a perfectional stage of devotion. It's just above the humor of neutrality and it's requisite for the development of the serving humor. Humor, is it humor, right? In literature such as Namma Kumadi, this state this state of existence is accepted as a continuous affection for or attraction to Krishna. Authorities like Sukadeva consider this state of affection, but in this case, this affection is realized by the devotee in different transcendental tests. Therefore, the state of the affection or pure affection for Krishna is engaged in the servitude are attached to Krishna in the affection of reverence. Some of the inhabitants of Gokula, Vrindavan as exhibited on the earth, are attached to Krishna on this platform of affection in the reverence. The inhabitants of Vrindavana used to say, Krishna is always manifest before us with a complexion like blackish cloud. He holds his wonderful flute in his lotus hands, and he is dressed in yellow silk and the backend with the peacock feather on his head. When Krishna walks near Govardhana hill with this personal feature, all the inhabitants of the heavenly planets as well as the inhabitants on this earth feel transcendental bliss and consider themselves the eternal servant of the Lord. Sometimes the devotee becomes filled with by the seeing the picture of Vishnu, who is dressed like a Krishna and who has similar complexion. The only difference is that Vishnu has four hands in which he holds conch shell and the desk and the club and the lotus flower. The Lord Vishnu is always decorated with many badges such as Chandrakanta stone and Suryakanta stone. The in the Lalita Madhava by Rupa following statement by Dwaruka, one of the servant of Krishna. Certainly Lord Vishnu is beautiful with his necklace of Kustubha jewels and his four hands holding conch shell and this club and lotus flower and his dazzling beautiful jewelry. He is also very beautiful with his eternal position, riding upon the shoulder of Garuda. But Vishnu is present in the enemy of Kamsa by his personal feature. Kamsa, by his personal feature, I completely forgetting the opulence of Vaikuntha. Another devotee once said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose bodily pores comes millions of the universes and permanently rising, who is the ocean of mercy, who is the owner of invincible energies and always equipped with all perfections, who is the origin of all incarnations and who is the attraction for all liberated person. This very simple is the supreme controller and and the supremely worshipable. All his cognizant, fully determined and fully opulent. He is the emblem of forgiveness and the protector of serenity, munificent and true to his promise, expert all auspicious, powerful and religious. He is a strict follower of the scripture. He is the friend of the devotee. He is the magnanimous, influential, grateful, reputable, respectable, full of all strength and submissive to pure devotee. Surely he is the only shelter of the devotee who are attracted to him by the affection of servitorship. Should I continue?
Yes, maybe till appointed servants.
Okay. The devotee of the Lord is servitude of the individual of are divided into four classes. Appointed servants such as the Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, who are appointed to the control of the ignorance. The devotee in the servitude who are protected by the Lord, devotees who are always associate and devotees who are simply following in the footsteps of the Lord.
Like to read
Okay,
Surami or someone else?
okay, yeah. Appointed servants. In a conversation between Jambavati, one of Krishna's wives, and Kalindi, her friend, Jambavati inquired, who is this personality circumambulating our Krishna? Kalindi replied, she is Ambika, the superintendent of all universal affairs. Then Jambavati inquired, who is this personality who is trembling at the sight of Krishna? Kalindi replied, he is Lord Shiva. Then Jambavati inquired, who is the person offering prayers? Kalindi replied, he is Lord Brahma. Jambavati then asked, who is that person who has fallen on the ground and is offering respect to Krishna? Kalindi replied, he is Indra, the king of heaven. Jambavati next inquired, who is this person who has come with the demigod? Kalindi replied, he is my elder brother Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. This caption offers a description of all the demigods, including Yamaraj, who are engaged in services appointed by the Lord. They are all called Adhikrita Devata or demigods appointed to particular types of departmental service. Devotees under the protection and shelter of the Lord. One resident of Vrindavana once told Lord Krishna, my dear Lord Krishna, O pleasure of Vrindavana, being afraid of this material existence, we have taken shelter of you, for you can completely protect us. We are well aware of your greatness. As such, we have given up our desire for liberation and have taken complete shelter under your lotus feet. Since we've heard about your ever-increasing transcendental love, we have voluntarily engaged ourselves in your transcendental service by a devotee who is under the protection and shelter of Lord Krishna. Upon being chastised by Krishna's constant kicking on his head, Kaliya, the black snake of the Yamuna, came to his senses and admitted, "My dear Lord, I've been so offensive unto you, but still you're so kind that you knocked my head with the impression of your lotus feet." This is also an instance of taking shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna. In the Aparada Bhanjana, a pure devotee expresses his feelings. "My dear Lord, I am ashamed to admit before you that I have carried out the orders of my master's name, lust, anger, avarice, illusion, and envy. Sometimes I've carried out them and it actually got in a way most abominable. Yet, in spite of my serving them so faithfully, they are not satisfied, nor are they kind enough to give me relief from their service. They are not even ashamed of taking service from me in that way. My dear Lord, O head of the Yadu dynasty, now I have come to my senses and I am taking shelter of your lotus feet. Please engage me in your service." This is another instance of surrendering and taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. There are many instances in the various Vedic writings of persons who were aspiring after liberation by speculative knowledge but gave up this process in order to take complete shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna. Examples of such persons are Brahmanas headed by Shonaka in the forest of Naimisharanya. Accept them as devotees having complete wisdom. There is a statement in the Hari Bhakti Sudaya in which these great Brahmanas and sages, headed by Shonaka Rishi, told Sutta Goswami, "My dear great soul, just see how wonderful it is. Although as human beings we are contaminated with so many things of material existence, simply by our conversing with you about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are now gradually decrying our desire for liberation." These are the Brahmanas to whom Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Sutta Goswami as described in the author's Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter. In Padyavali, a devotee says, "Persons who are attached to speculative knowledge for self-realization, who have decided that the supreme truth is beyond meditation, and who have thus become situated in the mode of goodness, let them peacefully execute their engagement. As for us, we are simply attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is by nature so pleasing, who possesses a complexion like a blackish cloud, who is dressed in yellow garment, and who has beautiful lotus-like eyes. We wished only to meditate upon him." Would someone else like to read? It's Lalita or Manu Prabhu. We go ahead, Lalita.
Lalita should go ahead, yeah.
No, Manu Prabhu.
No, I'm
Prabhu is
just back
driving.
home, so I'm just not ready to read yet.
Okay. Those who are from the very beginning of their self-realization attached to devotional service are called Sevanishta. Sevanishta means simply attached to devotional service. The best examples of such devotees are Lord Shiva, King Indra, King Bahulashva, Shrutadev, and Pundarik. One devotee says, "My dear Lord, your transcendental qualities attract even the liberated souls and to the assembly of devotees, where your glories are constantly chanted. Even great sages who are accustomed to living in solitary are also attracted by the songs of your glory. And observing all your transcendental qualities, I have also become attracted and have decided to dedicate my life to your loving service. Constant associates. In the city of Dwarka, the following devotees are known as Krishna's close associates: Uddhava, Daruka, Satyaki, Shrutadev, Shatrujit, Nanda, Upananda, and Bhadra. All of these personalities remain with the Lord as his secretaries, but still they are sometimes engaged in his personal service. Dynasty, Bhishma, Maharaj Parikshit, and Vidura are also known as close associates of Lord Krishna. It is said, all the associates of Lord Krishna have lustrous bodily features, and their eyes are just like lotus flowers. They have sufficient power to defeat the strong demigods, and the specific feature of their persons is that they're always decorated with valuable ornaments. When Krishna was in the capital, Indraprastha, someone addressed him thus: "My dear Lord, your headed by Uddhava are always awaiting your order by standing at the entrance gate of Dwarka. They are mostly looking on with tears in their eyes, and in their service they are not afraid even of the devastating fire generated by. They are souls simply surrendered onto your lotus feet." Out of the many close associates of Lord Krishna, Uddhava is considered the best. The following: his body is blackish like the color of the Yamuna river, and it is similarly as cool. He is always decorated with flower garlands, first used by Lord. He is dressed with yellow silk clothing. His 2 arms are just like the bolts of a door. His eyes are just like lotus flowers, and he is the most important devotee among all the associates. Let us therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto Uddhava's lotus feet. Uddhava has described the transcendental qualities of Sri Krishna as follows: Lord Sri Krishna, who is our master and worshipable deity, the controller of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, and the controller of the whole universe as well, accepts the controlling orders of Ugrasena, his grandfather. He is the proprietor of millions of universes, but still he begged a little land from the ocean. And although he is just like an ocean of wisdom, he sometimes consults me. He is magnanimous, yet he is engaged in his different activities just like an ordinary person. Followers of the Lord. Those who are constantly engaged in the personal service of the Lord are called anugas, or followers. Examples of such followers are Suchandra, Mandana, Stamba, and Sutamba, inhabitants of the city of Dwarka, and they are dressed and ornamented like the other associates. The specific services entrusted to anugas are varied. Mandana always bears the umbrella over the head of Lord Krishna. Suchandra is engaged in fanning with the white chamara bunch of hair, and Sutamba is engaged in supplying betel nuts. All of them are great devotees, and they are always busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As there are anugas in Dwarka, so there are many anugas in Vrindavan also. In Vrindavan are as follows: Raktaka, Patraka, Patri, Madhukanta, Madhuvrata, Rasala, Suvilasa, pictures of the anugas in Vrindavan are given in the following statement. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the Count Maharaj Nanda. They always stay in Vrindavan, and their bodies are decorated with garlands of pearls, and with bangles and bracelets of gold. Their colors are like black bees, and they are dressed just to special bodily features. Their specific duties can be understood from a statement who said, Bakula, please cleanse the yellowish dress of Krishna. Varika, you just flavor the bathing water with aguru scent. And Rasala, you just prepare the betel nuts. You can all see that Krishna is approaching. There is dust overhead, and the cows can be seen very distinctly. Should I go on, or would someone else like to read?
No, go on. Go on. That's great.
Okay. Among all the Anugas, Raktaka is considered to be the chief. The description of his bodily features is as follows. He wears yellow clothing, and his bodily color is just like newly grown grass. He is very expert in singing, and is also son of Maharaj Nanda. Let us all become the followers of Raktaka in offering transcendental loving service to Krishna. An example of the attachment felt by Raktaka toward Lord Krishna can be understood as Sada. Just hear me, please place me so that I may always be engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, who has now become famous as the lifter of the Govardhan hill. The devotees of Krishna engaged in his personal service are always very cautious because they know that becoming personal servitors of Lord Krishna is not an ordinary thing. A person who offers respect even to the ants engaged in the service of the Lord becomes eternally happy. So what is there to say of one who offers Krishna direct service? He said within himself, not only is Krishna my worshipable and servable Lord, but also the girlfriends of Krishna, the gopis, are equally worshipable and servable by me. And not only the gopis, but anyone who is engaged in the service of the Lord is also worshipable and servable. I know that I must be very careful not to become overly proud that I am servitors and devotees of the Lord. From this statement, one can understand that the pure devotees, those who are actually engaged in the service of the Lord, are always very cautious and are never overly proud of their service. This mentality of the direct servitor of Krishna is called dhurya. According to expert analytical studies of the direct associates of the Lord, Srila Rupa Goswami has divided these into three classes, namely dhurya, dhira, and vira. Raktaka is classified among the dhurya, or those who are always attached to serving the most beloved gopis. One dhira associate of Krishna is the son of Satyabhama's nurse. Satyabhama is one of the queens of Lord Krishna. To Krishna, the son of her nurse was allowed to go with her because they had lived together from childhood as brother and sister. So this gentleman, the son of Satyabhama's nurse, used to live with Krishna as his brother-in-law, and sometimes, as brother-in-law, he used to play jokes with Krishna. My dear Krishna, I never tried to gain the favor of the goddess of fortune, who is married to you, but still I am so fortunate that I am one of the members of your house, the brother of Satyabhama. A Vira associate once expressed his pride, declaring, Lord Baladev may be a great enemy of Pralambasura, but I have nothing from him. And as far as Pradyumna is concerned, I have nothing to because he is simply a boy. Therefore, I do not expect anything. I simply expect the favorable glance of Krishna upon me, and so I am not even afraid of so dear to Krishna. In the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 20th chapter, verse 28, King Prithu addresses the Lord, saying, My dear Lord, it may happen fortune becomes dissatisfied with my work, or I may even have some misunderstanding with her, but I will not mind this, because I have full confidence in you. You are always causelessly merciful to your servants, and you consider even their menial service to be very much advanced. So I have confidence that you will accept my humble, although it is not worthy of being. My dear Lord, you are self-sufficient. You can do anything you like without the help of anyone else. So if fortune is not satisfied with me, I know that you will always accept my service anyway. Devotees attached to the transcendental loving service of the Lord may be described either as surrendered souls, as souls advanced in devotional knowledge, or as souls completely engaged in transcendental loving service. Such devotees are called, respectively, neophyte, perfect, and eternally perfect. Jai. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki Jai.
Jai.
Aye.
Right.
Nice.
Any comments?
Nice.
Because when I was talking to any Indian colleague, if they say demigod, they don't like that word. They think that we are saying something about other gods. But if I can say like this, then it's kind of devata that have service in the universal affair. So that looks more more. They will not be hurted by saying the word demigod because they don't understand the word properly.
True. It's a nice point.
Yeah, in France we have to say we call them devas because there's no equivalent for demigod really in French.
Ah.
So we have to use a lot of Sanskrit words.
So Devas is better, just to use Devas.
Davis, yeah.
Even Lord Shiva is called as Mahadeva. So he's kind of
Yeah,
king of
true.
Deva.
Mahadev, that's
Yeah.
true. It's nice the description of what Shantaras is, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
very educational because I realized when we were reading it that I didn't actually know much about it after all of these years.
Yeah. And we are thinking where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one to sort of take in and understand because it's like it's neutral, but it's not impersonal.
Yeah.
It's neutral, yeah. But
Yeah,
who thinks of the form of the Lord? And he is under the Shantaras or something. Like it is given. Yeah.
I mean-
Mostly they concentrate on the forms of the Lord, I think.
Right. Okay.
That's what I understood. Like when you see in the servitude, then you can see like Yashoda, Mother Yashoda is ordering the devotees do that, do like that. Maybe they're more interested in doing more of physical service to Krishna.
Right.
That seems like servitude, like yeah.
Okay. It's nice the different categories that it's all in as well, different types of servitors and like the demigods and what were the other those that follow in the footsteps, that was one of them.
Yeah.
There was the demigods who are engaged by the Lord, or should we say the devatas, and then those who follow in the footsteps, and then there was another category, wasn't there, or at least one more? Trying to remember.
No, the Shantarasa. And
They are coming in Shantarasa, no?
Okay, sorry, I'm mixing it up. Huh?
Yeah, I just saw like in the last chapter, like they mentioned like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they come under the category of Shantarasa. As given like that, I don't know exactly.
They also come under the category of appointed servants.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So they're in servitorship then.
Oh, maybe I told wrong, I think.
Yeah, I thought they were in servitorship. Then I thought I got it wrong.
Yeah, I'm just
But
looking.
last chapter they were given, no?
No. Talking about servitorships.
No, they are on the servitorship.
Yeah, appointed servants.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
That is the thing.
Yeah, I'm checking because I have the screen still.
Yeah, this is it because I was reading it.
Can you see what the other? Because there was
Yes,
3 or 4 categories.
yeah.
There was like the demigods, those that follow in the footsteps, and then there was another 1 or 2 categories that they're divided into.
Yes, constant associates, I think.
Okay, constant.
Here also they mentioned, no?
Yeah, here they talk about the Shantarasa.
Followers of the Lord. Followers of the Lord includes like, Raktaka and all those gopas, like servants.
Yeah, that is servitude.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another category. I think that's it. The followers of the Lord, the constant associates, and the appointed servants. And the devotees. Oh, there's devotees under the protection and shelter of the Lord. So another category.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So that's
categories.
That's 4, yeah.
Yes, that's 4.
Yeah, the 4 Kumaras in Shantarasa.
Yeah,
Then
they are more in the effulgence. Even very interesting to see that the Bilomangala Thakur, he also started to